Welcome back to Shannons Club TV, where we reflect on significant cars with a unique Australian perspective.
Join us as we examine the defining points of our feature car and take a drive with a proud owner in a well-maintained example. We'll also get some valuable tips from the Shannons auctions team on what to look out for.
Today, we're taking things a little off-road with the mid-size Subaru that pioneered the path for a future World Rally champion, the first generation Liberty and RS Turbo.
Nothing prepared us for the Subaru Impreza WRX, not even the wonderful Liberty RS Turbo, which ushered in the all-wheel drive turbo car craze. The Liberty, legacy everywhere else in the world, was Fuji Heavy Industries' first mainstream medium-sized car and was conceived from the beginning to enable Subaru to build a marketing platform based on success in motorsport. The Liberty RS Turbo essentially set the template for future high-performance Subarus and even paved the way in the World Rally Championship for its lighter, nimbler WRX successor. The Subaru Liberty RS, which arrived in Australia in late 1991, brought out the great potential already evident in the naturally aspirated models. Speaking personally, I was already a considerable fan of the standard car, which I tested in 1990. This new Liberty, with its 2.2 litre horizontally opposed engine, was way more refined than any previous Subaru and boasted brilliant quality. It felt more mainstream and less weird than the smaller and mostly rather gawky models that preceded it. At the heart of the Liberty's distinctive character, of course, was that joyous, rumbling, guttural exhaust note. Mark, good car though the standard Liberty was, it didn't have nearly enough grunt for a motorsport career, did it?
No, it didn't. It really needed to harness, the awesome might of turbocharging to make its mark on the world motorsport stage. At the time, small turbocharged engines with all-wheel drive were already the benchmark in the World Rally Championship. So in the Liberty, Subaru had most of those ingredients already, which I'll expand on a bit later on.
But the RS Turbo took Subaru into a new performance realm. Its quad-cam 16-valve intercooled flat 4 was 10% smaller than the standard cars, but made 147 kilowatts at 6,000 revs and 260 newton meters of torque at 3,600. Turbo lag was marked and there wasn't much happening below 3,000. The only transmission was the 5-speed manual. Curb weight was 1,355 kilos. Then we got the wagon, Subaru's brilliant asymmetrical all-wheel drive system in combination with the much lower centre of gravity afforded by the Boxer engine made the Liberty RS wagon as wieldy as the sedan. It was difficult to imagine a better vehicle for a family trip to the snow, unless one aspired all the way to a Range Rover. Mark, because the Liberty RS Turbo was the first Subaru to combine all those features, the unique asymmetrical all-wheel drive with the turbocharged Boxer engine and rigid construction, it must be judged as an immensely important car in the marque's heritage, don't you think?
Absolutely, it sure is. And what has to be remembered too is that it was also a very successful rally car in its own right. Subaru's Impreza WRX has achieved legend status after its phenomenal success in rallying across the globe. As a result, the car which laid the foundation for the mighty Rex, the turbocharged Legacy RS, is often overlooked in Subaru's rich competition history. The Legacy RS, or Rally Sport, which confusingly was named Liberty here in deference to Legacy Australia, was developed into a potent Group A World Rally Championship contender for 1990 by the Subaru World Rally team. This UK-based operation combined British and Japanese expertise in the form of ProDrive and Subaru Technica International, better known by its more famous acronym STI. The Legacy RS's hot turbocharged 2-litre Boxer 4 pumped out 300 brake horsepower through an X-Track competition gearbox and symmetrical all-wheel drive. However, it was significantly longer in both wheelbase and length than its two major WRC rivals, Toyota's Celica GT4 and Lancia's Delta Integrale. It was these key differences which ensured Subaru's new Challenger faced an uphill battle from the start. Even so, it scored a breakthrough victory for Subaru in the World Rally Championship, plus 3 British Open Rally titles and an Asia Pacific Championship. John, it may not have been a World Rally Champion, but what a brilliant all-rounder this car was for road use, wasn't it?
Well, it was, and I'm thinking particularly of the wagon. And what Subaru Australia did to launch that car to the media was to deliver a car to the home of the journalist and invite the journalist to bring a family with them and go to the snow country in these wagons.
Wow.
And what a fan! That's why I mentioned in my talk about the perfect car for going to the snow. It certainly was very versatile. So I think in that sense, the wagon probably deserves to be acknowledged even more than the sedan, but very, very versatile.
Yeah. And I just remember the integrity of these cars. You know, when they came out, I just remember thinking, wow, this car is so well built, you could feel it.
Absolutely.
Just driving it, couldn't you?
Beautiful, yeah. I mean, really the only criticism was that slight doughiness if you didn't use a few revs, but all good cars demand to be driven a certain way to give it their best. I think it was a truly outstanding vehicle, especially in the context of its time.
Absolutely, yeah, for sure. The Liberty RS also boasts an impressive competition history down under, having won 2 Australian Rally Championships. The first came in 1991 for a privately entered car driven by Western Australia's Rob Herridge after a season-long battle with Toyota rival Neil Bates in his Celica GT4. However, the Subaru driver had to wait more than 12 months for his victory to become official, following a drawn-out courtroom battle. Herridge won a second title aboard the Liberty RS the following year, after Subaru Australia showed admirable commitment to the ARC with a big-budget 2-car team presented in eye-catching yellow with contrasting blue stripes, referred to as mud splashes. In summary, the legacy Liberty RS Turbo may not be as revered as its Impreza WRX successor, but it was a very successful rally car in its own right. It also served as a crucial test bed for the design and development of its smaller, lighter and faster replacement, and played a pivotal role in achieving Subaru's dream of World Rally Championship success. Other great episodes of Shannons Club TV are available to view anytime on the club website.
My name is Daniel, this is my 1993 Subaru Liberty RS. One of 964 Australian delivered, so I do enjoy keeping this one standard just for others to enjoy, because you just don't see a whole lot of them. The Turbo would probably be the biggest difference between a stock Liberty and an RS. The famous bonnet scoop, wheels that were exclusive to the RS. The interior differences, black colour coding throughout. And of course just the performance that RS delivers over a standard variant of the Liberty. Exhaust gives it that nice boxer rumble we all know and love. So it's an EJ20 quad cam 16 valve 2-litre turbo. Just shy of 150 kilowatts with its factory tune. The driving experience is fantastic, very smooth, very quiet. Comfortable drive with the standard suspension and ride height. It really finds its own when you get to the twisty roads and you can power into a corner. Just the constant feel of control and grit that the symmetrical all-wheel drive offers is phenomenal. I am a Shannons customer. When I picked this one up, I gave Shannons a call, and funnily enough, I spent about an hour on the phone with the gentleman just talking cars, being able to feel everything I need so far. A very happy Shannons customer. The whole picking up of the car and getting it back home was just a day I won't forget. I couldn't believe it was one of the cleanest examples I've ever seen. Picked it up in the morning, spent the rest of the day driving around Tassie, which was fantastic, and put it on a boat later on that evening, brought it back home. Just maintaining the car in its present condition and keep it as standard as possible. I do hope to get back to Tassie one day and finish off the drive that we started on the day I picked it up. That's what the car's about, just enjoying the road.
Shannons National Auctions Manager Chris Borrabon is here with a market update on the Liberty RS Turbo. Welcome, mate.
Mark away.
Christoph, the WRX lives on as a classic Subaru, so famous, but the forerunner was the Liberty RS.
That's right, it was, wasn't it?
I wonder whether the market recognises the Liberty RS in the same way.
Look, I think that, the RS Liberty was really the car that put that sort of performance touch to Subaru, wasn't it?
It was a game
It set the
changer.
template.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, growing up, and that was probably one of the more exciting cars that came up for production. Whether the car was introduced at the right time or not, that's probably the question.
It wasn't a very big seller in Australia, because you might remember we had a recession in Australia in the early 90s.
And that's when it hit. It came out.
And the price of it was quite high. It was quite an expensive car. So as a result, as a collectible, everyone's going, wow, where are they now? Because they didn't sell as strongly as they really should have.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. I think it's nearly like a Skyline GTR. It was launched at recession time.
Yes,
and
exactly.
the price point was very different to the normal Nissan. So I think it probably suffered a little bit of that fate. But it was quite an exciting car in rally scenes, heavily used.
It's a great road
car.
Yeah. And what about the wagon?
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Where does that sit?
RS wagon.
Yeah.
Quite desirable, quite sought after.
It would be more sought after than the sedan, I'm guessing. Fewer of them.
Look, I think there's a marketplace for both of them, actually. Yep.
And there were some lovely touches, weren't they, with that Momo steering wheel and the leather shifter and the handbrake cable. I mean, it was
even the gold wheels, so Subaru.
Yes,
There's some nice touches.
No, so look, I think that, the performance of that car, I think it was 147 kilowatts from memory for the 2-litre turbo. That was probably up from what Subaru had put out previously.
Oh, yes.
So it made that car quite exciting, and I think, again, that sound of that boxer motor, the combination of both, I think it really got people excited when the RS came out.
Yes.
In terms of future values, though, where would the Liberty RS Turbo sit in desirability compared to a first-generation WRX? Is that car ever going to come up, or is the Rex is always going to be king, no matter what happens?
Good question, Alan. I think
is
today,
it a sleeper?
Yeah, today we struggle to see a lot of Liberties, RSs on the road. I just don't see them. I think they probably exist in the clubs, and I think it's definitely one to look out for, because I think it was probably one of that really first of those performance Subarus to come out. So I think if we go back in history, I think it's definitely one to look out for.
I think it's one of those cars that as the decades go by, it's going to get more recognition. It's going to get the recognition it deserves as the car that, as I say, set the template for Subaru brand values.
Yeah, and one of the things we always talk about Fuji Heavy Industries is just the quality of the engineering of these cars. I mean, those EJ series engines were so tough.
Yes.
And these cars, where do they sit now in terms of someone? So you got what you always talk about, the low kilometre, few owners, great books and everything. If you had a car like that, how easy is it to maintain in the modern day in terms of Subaru support?
Look, I think there's plenty of support out there for modern Japanese cars. I don't think we've got an issue with that. Subarus are well and truly in our culture out there, and a lot of mechanics working on those cars.
And I guess you'd have to accept the fact that most of them are modified. You see them and it's the gargle at the lights with the gigantic, paint tin-sized exhaust and everything. Most of them are modified, so that's acceptable when you're talking about.
Clearly, I think with any of those modern turbo cars, you expect to see a large number being modified, fiddled with to obviously extract more horsepower and torque out of them. So I think the key is probably try and find an original car.
I was going to say that would be the hardest thing, wouldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we've often talked about cars before on the show, and if they were right in that sweet spot for young drivers, the vast majority of them were modified.
Yes, correct.
Yeah. So finding an original will be pretty hard, but certainly one to chase.
Absolutely one to chase, and I think it's probably still possible to find an original car out there somewhere. I remember when they were new, they were a fabulous car, and I think the executives at Subaru got quite a big grin on their faces when they drove it too.
Yes, they did.
I think everyone did. Yeah. All right, mate. Well, thanks for the advice. And for all the latest on Shannons auctions news, check out the Shannons Club website. For your own competition image of the Subaru RS Turbo, visit AutoPic's incredible motorsport photo archive. John, looking at this car in history, for example, rotary is synonymous with Mazda. with Subaru, all-wheel drive
Yes,
is synonymous with.
absolutely.
And how successful did they brand that?
Well, it took them a while. They were getting there. A few years later, they did a similar thing with the launch of the Forester GT. They delivered one to your house and you took your family to the snow. And at that launch, they announced that all-wheel drive is all we do. They're only going to do all-wheel drive cars, and they had a bunch of clever slogans, but no longer could you buy a front-wheel drive Subaru that was an alternative to a front-wheel drive anything else. You bought a Subaru, you got all-wheel drive, and that's why now we have that so imprinted in our brains, I think.
Very, very clever marketing exercise. When
Indeed.
you think of it on a global scale, because Subaru were known, you said earlier, for these quirky, funny little cars.
front-wheel drive cars.
And the Liberty came out and it was just like, wow, these guys are in the main game now.
Main
And with
game,
that message of all-wheel drive, I know that really appealed not only to performance drivers, but a lot of family car owners, because the message
Safety.
was sold
Yes.
that all-wheel drive was a safety feature.
Yes, I think that's right.
So the whole thing tied in with the World Rally
It did,
Championship,
yep.
the home, the mum and dad owner, the sports driver.
Brilliant marketing.
It was just a fantastic package, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. We hope you've enjoyed reflecting on the Liberty RS Turbo. Hope you can join us next time for Shannons Club TV. Bye for now.